Hey, this is Anthony with RevZilla. See what you can watch, decide, and ride. Welcome to our Moto-Skiveez Technical Underwear overview at RevZilla.com. So in this video, I'm gonna break down the Moto-Skiveez line. Yes, they're technical underwear. You can see a pair to my left on the mannequin, and then I have some of the nuances here across the table with a pair in my hand. These are technical underwear. I was at the AIM Expo last year, and I got stopped by a Hey Anthony. It was a founder, Sean of Moto-Skiveez. He said, we're out of Park City, we come from the cycling world, and we're developing new technology that's gonna allow riders to ride stronger, longer by eliminating pressure points, increasing blood flow, increasing ventilation, and giving riders the ability to sidestep, especially longer distance riders that ride every day, ischial bursitis, which really is a physical condition that can develop by spending too much time misoptimized in the saddle. What you're looking at is a pair of premium underwear. You can see I have it in front of me. It's like we'd expect to see. And again, coming from the cycling world, it's made of super stretchy Lycra. But I will say this, it's extremely lightweight. And if you look at the mannequin to my left, you'll notice, and we'll walk through it a little bit in more detail in a second, but there's perforated areas, there's gonna be solid areas. And the key to it is that each pair of these underwear is going to have the specialized technical pad, and there's really three flavors in the specialized area. So blue is going to be called the Moto-Skiveez Adventure, and that's really going to be for universal riding, adventure touring, again, a more upright position. Then you're going to have the red, which I have to my right, and that's going to be sport oriented and a really sport body position. It's going to be the tuck or the 3/4. And then underneath that, you're going to have the gray, which is going to be your cruiser option. And that's going to be with your legs forward. And again, we're going to walk through the nuance and the benefit of all of those. But what you need to keep in mind is that for around the $60 mark, you're upgrading your ride and you're really buying it based on your riding position on the bike. And there's a ton of benefit that comes with it. So let's talk briefly about sizing and let's walk into the nuance of the Moto-Skiveez. So we get into the sizing on the Moto-Skiveez. Remember, it's going to be alphanumeric side. You can see it here. This is an extra large I have on my model to the left, and your size is small through 2X. Now, right now they're coming in unisex sizes. And I'll be honest, I believe they're designing for the more male market. On the ladies' side, though, the hope is that we see a Moto-Skiveez for ladies certainly some point down the pipe. But keep that in mind. Use the size chart. And when in doubt, we all have pairs of underwear out there from any brand that might be a boxer brief. Just kind of go in line with that same size. There's a ton of stretch to these. And again, they're built for high quality material. Stretch in the legs, stretch at the band. And again, no surprises there. Keep in mind too, they're over 39 bucks, so we're gonna ship for free. Now, as I walk through my odd torso here to the left and some of the other technicality in the pads to my right, what I'd love for you to do is click right there, subscribe to us, click our logo on RevZilla TV, leave me your comments, your questions, your feedback about the Moto-Skiveez itself, the interesting assortment on the table I have in front of me here today, but really stay up to date with all the latest gear reviews we're constantly rolling out. We're trying to get a good gauge on the best of the leading edge for technology for you hardcore riders out there. Now, if I dive back in, let's start with the anatomy of the short, and then we're gonna go to the model, and then we'll talk about the pads. So the exterior is pretty simple. Like I said, it's a really lightweight Lycra. It's not like a cycling short in the sense, because it doesn't have to take an impact. So it's super, super thin, super, super comfortable. And you can see here, it's a high quality waistband at the top. There's no silicone at the bottom of the leg, so it's not keeping itself in place like it would if it came from the MX world. But if I move into my mannequin here, which is turned backwards, by the way, here on my left, you're gonna see how it all comes together. Let's start with the backside. You see the band at the top. Now notice it's perforated along the crack. Lack of a better term, you're gonna see it along the top. You see that perforation in areas that are traditionally more heated. So again, you don't need any help there. And the more solid areas are areas where you could stand to not have that perforation. And again, and they're also, perforation tends to weaken a short a little bit, or weaken any material. So you're getting primarily solid material in the area where the pad is gonna come into play. Now, the pad connects in a different place on each pant. It's always along the butt, and it's always underneath. Now, if you're wearing the sport version, it's gonna be more on the thighs, it's gonna be more rotated, because think about it, 3/4 tuck position. This is gonna be the more universally fit adventure version, but I wish I would have just called it the standard version, because again, if you're touring, if you're adventure touring, if you're commuting, if you're more in that 3/4 upright riding position, this gives you great coverage on the backside as well as underneath along the thighs. And you're gonna see different densities of foam. It's flat lock stitched. You're never gonna feel that stitch. It's a 4-needle stitch, and you can see how it wraps around. They're also going to be designed to be in place when you're in the riding position, depending on the type you choose. And when you're just standing around, they are gonna hang a little funny in your pant. But again, to be designed to be walked around in, that's not where they're going. They're designed to optimize for riding. riding. Now, if I flip my mannequin to the front, wow, look at that slick little feature, and roll him around, what you're actually going to see is that perforation continues and it moves into the crotch. Again, areas that are heated that you're going to need more breathability. I'll also say this, notice it's not a fly, and it's not a fly on purpose, because along the groin, there's actually going to be a second layer of Lycra. So what you have is 2 layers of material on each other against your body and against your parts. So what happens is you're not going to get any action against your tank. So giving the ability to slide and move around without giving you any brush burn that you really don't want to have. And you see how it comes down here along the front and the way it locks into place. Our nitpick, maybe we like to see a pair that's extended at some point, gives you full compression down towards the knee, but really the technology they're going for here is all about this pad. And now that we've covered the exterior, how it kind of goes together, what you typically see when you're looking at these, we should walk through the segmentation and how you're going to choose and the benefit you're going to get from the sport version, the cruiser version, and then that adventure version, which is so universal. So I'm going to start with the Moto-Skiveez that I have off the model. And notice this is how you would wear it. This guy to my left is fully inside out. I hope you picked up on that. And if I turn this one inside out, what you're going to see is the blue pad to my right is now sewn in. And we could talk about the bottom. We could talk about how this works. Now, you're starting with a silver-infused antimicrobial pad. And you're looking at a pad that's ventilated, that also has different densities of foam. And remember, it's an open cell foam. It's harder to use that. Open cell foam is more breathable versus a closed cell foam. So they could have cut cost here by going with a closed cell foam, but they chose to go higher end for breathability. See these cords and the structure. It's going to be fully wicking. So it's antimicrobial, it's wicking, it's pulling that sweat away from you. And then there are different densities of foam here. There are different densities of foam towards the front. And this is the universal version. This is the one that if you have one to choose, you're not a sport bike and you're not on a Harley, this is the one you're going to buy, and it's going to cover you the best and give you the most versatility. But what you're going to see is 3mm foam, 4mm foam. On the cruiser version, you're going to see 6mm foam. It's all about spreading the load and giving you the best contact patch on the bike depending on where your legs are. Remember, if you're wearing this one, typically your legs are going to be straight down or slightly forward. They're not going to be underneath you like you'd see with a sport riding position, and they're not going to be overly forward like you'd have in that cruiser position. And you have the ability to have that support that runs up towards the tailbone, again, giving you the support, because remember, we've all had that. I've been on rides where you're riding gas tank to gas tank, you got to cover 400 or 500 miles in a day, and your legs are just burning. This gives you that area of support. It gives you that vibration dampening. It's going to spread out the load, promote blood flow. You know, I've seen Airhawk seats do something a little bit similar, but that goes to the bike. These are the wearable. These are the technical wearable that fully forms your body. And what you're going to see here too to the left is when you come in here on the back side of this mannequin on the inside out pair, you're also going to notice that it wraps underneath. It wraps towards the front. It's giving you more fuller coverage, you know, for the riding position, not just for the upright position and not just on your butt pad. Because remember, you're spreading that load out. The other thing we talked about is ischial bursitis, which is really your butt bones. And again, especially in the cruiser world, you see guys that ride a ton, they can start to develop physical medical conditions from that. And what this is going to do, it's going to give you that comfort and support that's going to allow you to ride longer and give you the chance to stay out of the doctor's office. So as I move from my blue version, which remember, if you can only buy one, this is the one to buy. This is the blue version, universal, standard. They're calling it adventure, and I wish it would have just done ADV/standard. It would be much more simple. And remember, it doesn't matter if you ride an FJR and if you ride really quickly. You're riding in that body position. You're buying this based on your body position. So I don't care how sporty of a rider you are, if you're not in the 3/4 to the tuck, you're not buying the sport version. It's a good segue. Let's move over to our sport version now. Now this is a sport version. Notice it's more Y-shaped. It's meant for your body to be in the tuck. It wraps more forward. The pressure is going to be more off your butt. It's going to be on more of your thighs, and the front of your thighs is going to wrap around a little further. Notice the way they've done this. So again, different layout of the foam, same materials, silver infused. It's going to wick. It's going to breathe. It's going to be antimicrobial. Notice the perforation scheme. But the nice part here too is they gave you some additional padding in along the inner thighs that are going to grip against your tank. So again, a little bit of shock absorption there, a little bit of increased blood flow, eliminating that pressure point. And I have this one not sewn to anything. So if I turn it over, you can see the bottom. It's truly 3D. This is the side that you never see when you buy this. And again, great care is meant to be heat mapped and really designed so that the placement of this in the riding position, I'll say if I had this one on the model next to me, you'd see that it sits lower and it sits more towards the front. That's done so that when you're riding, it's in the right position. And again, this is going to be your sport one. Buy it if you ride a sport bike in a sport position. Do not buy it if you ride a sport touring bike and you're in a touring position, but you just ride like a maniac. You're going to want to ride the one for your body position. This is a cruiser one, and this one's a little bit different. You'll notice they made a couple key changes. Now the lines on it from a wicking perspective, are actually zigzag versus straight. So it's meant for a bit more of a cooling versus wicking because you're sweating a little bit less on a cruiser. You're also going to notice that if you think about really forward controls or even mid controls, your feet are really forward. Your knees are really elevated. You're really far back on your butt. So what they've done here is they've really beefed up. This is the first time we see that 6mm foam padding come into place. Remember, open cell foam, because the area that's going to be the surface area that's making connection with your bike, whether you're on a stock seat or an upgraded seat, it's going to be much smaller. So you see 3 layers of foam, you have 6mm where you need it most. This is going to be a condensed pressure point area with less movement on the bike. You're going to be more sedentary, and again, this is going to be set up so it's going to be a little bit higher on the back because when you're rotated forward, your legs are going to be forward and you need that to come into play. So again, this is the other one. I would say this: if you have a passenger that's riding with you and you're thinking about, I don't care if you're on a sport bike, an adventure touring bike, cruiser definitively, but if you have a passenger that's going to sit on your rear sets or your rear pegs and that's going to have those elevated knees, you're going to buy the cruiser version because they're actually experiencing a riding position that's going to be much closer to a cruiser rider who's actually riding the motorcycle or driving the motorcycle versus your sport rider versus your adventure touring or your standard or your commuter. So keep that in mind, and hopefully over time we'll see them take this concept and they'll do a size curve as well as ergonomics that are built for more of a lady rider. But really, ladies, if it works for you, you can go with the lower sizes because they are built with a more universality to them. So remember, technical underwear starting at around the $60 mark, coupled with R&D that came out of Italy from a Verona testing facility that really started in the cycling world. And these are built by guys that were 20-year pro cyclists that now said, we're into moto, and we're going to take this technology because everything in cycling on that little saddle is built to protect you from the terrifying nature of what that seat doesn't do for you. It is hard, it's uncomfortable, it creates prostate issues, has all these issues. On a motorcycle, you're more padded, you typically have a suspension, you're better off. But for longer distance riding or even everyday commuting, you could benefit from a lot of the different properties that are perfected in a much more difficult environment and now brought over and bridge the gap for the moto universe. Obviously, you can tell I like it. I like technology, I like leading edge. I certainly support entrepreneurs that are bringing new technologies to market. We're hoping that you find a spot in your moto technical lineup for Moto-Skiveez. Shoot, maybe you'll even see an orange version at some point. The next step in your journey is to use my information and click right here to read other rider reviews of Moto-Skiveez at RevZilla.com. Remember, different reviews for different products. You're going to have 3 different products. This overview hopefully gets you close to the one that you need to select, but don't take my word for it. As always, we're going to ship for free over $39, and if you want to talk to a gear geek, call them, ask them about their underwear. I think that's a great conversation. See us at RevZilla.com or 877-792-9455. Thanks for watching our Moto-Skiveez overview. It's technical underwear. I'm a fan. Subscribe to us at RevZilla TV. We'll see you next time.